Hello everybody, welcome to the results of week 2 of the 2018 SpaceChem Tournament. This week our assignment was triangle dimerization, which is this puzzle, in which we take cyclobutadiene, which has 4 carbons and 4 hydrogens, and turn them into a 8 atoms carbon ring and a 2 atom hydrogen molecule. This means that we need 2 cyclobutadienes for 1 carbon ring. Now, the metric for this puzzle was symbols, with a 10 symbols penalty for using a second Waldo. I would like to talk a bit about the inspiration for this puzzle and why I chose the metric I chose. This puzzle is roughly grounded up in real chemistry in the fact that at normal temperature and pressure, cyclobutadiene undergoes a dimerization process, which turns this 4 carbon and 4 hydrogens molecule into an 8 carbon and 8 hydrogens molecule. We'll actually see this intermediate process in some of the solutions. Talking about the metric, the reason for the 10 symbols penalty is this one. Well, one usually approaches the problem of lopping off 2 hydrogens from a double bonded couple of carbon with something like this. Now I have it already ready. Here it is. So we get blue hammering the bond plus and red picking up the molecule, bringing it over. We get bonding priority to do its usual magic, and then outputted the complete molecule. This is the standard approach. I like this, it's great for low symbols, but for the tournament I wanted something a little more unique. So the 10 symbols penalty basically bans people from using hammering Waldos and forces some more creative use of our resources. Last thing before we start with the solutions, I wanted to show the original puzzle, by Leylight of course, that inspired me for strong dimerization, and was this, desaturation. As you can see, the basic ideas of lopping off hydrogen from a central carbon core and making a more carbon thing is pretty much still here. Just the difficulty switches from making sure that there are no double bonds in this brick to making sure there are all the double bonds in my brick. Now let's go on to the solutions. First up is Quartzet Flame with 66 symbols. This solution uses 2 Waldos, and while it isn't fast, it gains a lot of style points in my book for actually making the right shape. I mean, let's see, red comes over, lopes off the hydrogens, then brings carbons into the right shapes, and blue picks up the other one, bonds it, and outputs it. As I've said several times in the tourney topic, it doesn't really matter, the output shape doesn't really matter, like the game doesn't consider it and neither does I. But still, seeing people making the right shape is always nice. So while this isn't a fast solution, you get a style point in my book, Quartzet Flame. Close this in 66. And while we are at it, this one here isn't needed. You can just, with the way you use it, you go straight, and when you just come back, there. Save 2 symbols. Then we have Flexon, with a pretty unconventional bonded setup here on the input. And in fact, he does the hydrogen lop off that one would expect, but he does it over the input. So he has another Waldo transport hydrogens to the output, and then he is also going to do the proper shape. So another really stylish solution. Here it is, bonds them and outputs them. Sadly, style points are a metric, but I still thank you for an unconventional solution. Then we have 0-1 with a possibly even more unconventional shape. In fact, he has his 4 bonders in a line and over the input. So he has the 2 hydrogens lopped off at the edges, red bonds them and outputs. Then it does the same with the other 2 hydrogens, bonds the carbon block right, stores it and goes back to do the same. And then here we go. Blue will pick it up, bond it, and up. For 56 symbols and 2 Waldos, so 66 score. Next up is Jeff with another unconventional bonded layout. In fact, he has two separated groups, one on the output and one here in the middle. Let's see. He lops off hydrogens one at a time and brings them over to bond them and output them. And then he repeats until he has this carbon shape that he immediately converts in a C. Does the same thing again as another C, and then blue will put them both here, bond them and output them. Now let's just see here. We have blue come here, there, bonded once, and then comes here to bond twice. Well, we don't need to do all this roundabout. Just go back. There, saved you a symbol. And this would score 64. Here we have a temate with a much more conventional bonded alignment. In fact, we have this square on output omega ready to unbond and directly output a hydrogen molecule. So let's see. He picks one molecule up, leaves it here, and then picks another. He will do what I was saying at the beginning, so he'll have a proper chemical product as an intermediate state. Here it is. Now that he has built this huge carbon block, he lops off all the hydrogens using blue. Here we go. And then just bond it right and output. It's a pity a lot of time and symbols are spent here picking, grabbing and rotating it around. But all around an initial show of this different strategy. Scores 57. Here we have JFB 1337 with the first one Waldo solution. This is complex. So he has this line arrangement here, picks up the molecule, lots of the hydrogens, has red picking them up and let's wait. There, picks up, bonds them and outputs. And then he has one, let's call this a C formed. He does the same thing with another molecule and then picks up back again both C's, bonds them and outputs them. Well, I mean, congratulations. I'm pretty lost. But still, this is the first one Waldo solution and scores at 65 points. Now it's Highquick's time with 48 symbol solution. He has a more typical bonded arrangement here, partly in output omega, and he does the standard hydrogen lopping we can expect, and then he builds this carbon hell, and so he will build the proper form of the output. This was the best solution submitted that built the proper output form. So congratulations for this Highquick. Now let's see. He has these two halves. He picks up the other half, then correctly bonds everything and drops. Total score 48 and 1 style point. And Peter's time. This at 36 symbols is not only the best 2 Waldo solution received and scores 46, but it's also the fastest. We have blue lopping off the hydrogens, making a C shape, red picks it up, waits for blue, bonds its everything and outputs. This is really fast because when we get here, we have this second shape and everything is done really fast. Sadly, speed was not the point of this assignment. RP0 solution. He picks up the molecule, lops off a couple of hydrogen, breaks off the other couple, then here does the proper bonding magic to make up a C out of the box. We would say this arrangement to make a double bonded C, it is very common in many other solutions. Now he picks up another molecule, does the same thing, and then bonds up the C's with the help of some bonder priority. Now this is actually a very common approach, and we will see it used by many other solutions, and scores 45 symbols. Brookie odds shows us another variant of the same approach RP0 had, with this classic double rotation here, one here, lops off a couple of hydrogen, lops off the other couple, picks it up, makes a C, drops a C, does the exact same thing on another molecule. Then now that he has both C's here, drops one on the bonder, rotates, and then bonds one and bonds the other. This solution is pretty slow. That's because it has all these grabs and drops instead of having the molecule held with a Waldo and doing the bonding and unbonding directly. Still, scores a reasonable 42. Now, before I go on, it would be possible to speed it up a little by changing this path here and duplicating the input alpha. There you go, saves just 2 cycles per molecule, but still, it's an improvement. Here, the original solution had 75. Here we have Twistia, and as I was looking at this, I realized that I was wrong before. That's because it does the same standard lopping off, and then he builds this carbonyl, which means that he as well is going from the proper output shape. And so this is actually the best solution that does the proper output shape. Let's see how he does it. Now he has these two halves, Lysamere, and then he embarks in this huge flip-flop journey and with grab and grab drops to bond through the whole thing. Well, considering the execution of the rest of the solution, he could have probably saved a lot by doing the 2x4 shape, but it's still it's a pretty cool solution for doing the actual output shape. Let's watch it. Great bonding. Scores 41. This is MacRush solution, who comes in with a more standard approach. Here you can see the usual hydrogen unbonding, C forming, and then he has this compact flip-flop counters, one here, and then the other handling here, which will wait a bit, here it is, which will put swiftly the other half over the bonder, and then the outputs. This is a pretty fast solution and scores 40. Time for Xaboka's solution, who actually told me it's pronounced Xaboka, or I hope to say it right this time. So he has a slightly different approach in which he unbonds and then comes straight down to unbond the other hydrogen couple. This saves him a bunch of rotates and puts him in a good spot to instantly make the double bonded C. He then brings it over, does the same exact thing, and then does the usual C joining with a triple bond here. He loses a bit of symbols here because of this kink, but here it goes. Pretty good solution, and it's pretty fast for its symbols, clocking at 897. Well, we can actually speed it up a little bit by improving here. So we just bring this flip-flop here, this, and this, and this, and this, and let's also reduce clutter a bit. And here you go, a little bit faster. Now for Rexcake's solution. He has a more standard approach, bringing over our molecule, rotating it twice, splitting the hydrogens, forming the C, parking the C here, doing the same thing another time, and then bonding them both with the usual help of bonder priority here and the triple bond there. It is said that he loses a fair bit of symbols to arrows here, 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 but all in all, a solid solution, and we are finally sub 40. Now for Hexton JPark solution, he has again the standard approach, but he approaches the bonders from the bottom, which we hadn't seen before, and this allows him to have a little bit of space at the top to maneuver things pretty efficiently. We see him unbond the other pair, brings the second C here and bonds. We can also see his bonding process is pretty efficient because using this double back he only needs 2 bond plus symbols instead of 3 that would be required for a single pass. All in all, 37 symbols. Now it's Hyperture's turn, who has once again the standard approach, but he has it rotated 90 degrees. Well, I have to see a change of perspective is always a nice thing. He leaves the first C here, go grabs the second. Here the second is ready. Leaves it out from the bonders. He has the same efficient double back bonding as Hexton had, and then it outputs. 36 symbols. Now it's Biggie Mac's turn. He starts a little bit sooner to prime this flip-flop, and then he uses the other approach by building first a C8H8 molecule, and then lopping off hydrogens from this big molecule and bonding it up as it goes. We haven't seen this approach in many solutions up until now, so the huge advantages of this method is that having both hydrogens, let's wait a bit, here when you bond, helps you avoid spurious bonds. As we can see here, we have mostly the inner ring formed with minimal problems because the hydrogens prevents the happening of intercarbon bonds that are the bane of most solutions. But now the hydrogens needs to be lopped off from this huge molecule, and this brings its own set of problems. All in all, another nice approach for 36 symbols. Here's Nurture's solution, and at 35 symbols, he starts the great 35 symbols tie, with 5 players tied at 35 symbols, most of them with different approaches. He is using the standard one. Here we have seen the first C is formed, then is moved out, the second one is formed with the same exact technique, and then here we see the standard double back bonding and output. Now we have Jig's solution. I do like to thank him because it was the only one that uses the blue Waldo, and it's nice to see some color change after all these red Waldo solutions. So let's see. He uses the, let's call other strategy of bringing together 2 molecules, bonding them and forming this, the big ring right away, and then lopping off couples of hydrogens. Here is one, here the next, and then rebonding everything is pretty easy, and he outputs. The fact that he keeps this extra molecule around is due to that in this way he said he could save 1 cycle in it. All in all, another of the 35 solution, this time at a little over 1500 cells. Now we have Tlutz, who has a pretty peculiar bonder position, and he has it because it does the usual lopping off in a horizontal position, brings the first C here. He brings it in such a position so he has to be careful not to output, but that's not an issue because the output can be put in the branch of the initial C. Then bonds everything using 3 bonds in line, and then places this over, and the next iteration will output. Let's just see it. Here we go. Great flip-flop mess as well here. For the mid place of the 35. Then we have a Spoparent solution with another unconventional bonder setup. In fact, he has these bonders here in line, and let's see what it does. He brings up the first molecule, removes one hydrogen, then comes over, removes the other one using these 3 bonders of a line, and then he has a hydrogen molecule formed. Now it rotates the molecule, repeats. Here it is, 1, 2, and then he has a C nicely formed, and he has a 3 bonders here on the outside to drop the carbon C, that because it's not used to lop off hydrogens can store nicely the C without need of touching it before bonding everything with the usual double back bonding and outputting. Here we go. Now, Svobodan could have avoided making part of the big 25 symbols die if he just primed this flip-flop, and this is not difficult to do. Here, done, 35 symbols. Last of the die, it's Lilite, with the fastest one of the standard approaches in this bracket, in which he has a pretty fast loop that removes 3 hydrogens and an equally fast loop that moves the carbon C away. Now that he has made the second one, he drops it and then bonds everything up. Pretty clean and fast. Now it's Astronelson's solution, who uses again the standard rotating, C-forming and the other C-forming approach, and does it in a pretty clean way by using, here we see, he drops the C and then he has a flip-flop that regrabs it and stashes it away. This reuses the whole path and saves some symbols. Here's Toffot's solution, who does things a little not different. Instead of rotating the molecule, he just goes down and removes hydrogens from the bottom. This saves him a couple of rotates, of course at the cost of a whole bunch of flip-flops to keep the rotation straight. Then, now that he has the second C correctly bonded, he leaves it in the bonders, bonds using the usual double back and outputs. And here it is at 1518, and now something that I've never thought I'd get to say: Toffot, you can't say the cycle. Here it is at 1517. Now we have Cactus' solution, who uses the double up molecule approach. He brings his second, and then in a pretty clean way removes hydrogen couple by hydrogen couple from the completed carbon ring. He has just 2 rotations in his whole solution and looks pretty clean. Then he does right here some turnaround to bond it and outputs. Pretty clean. Oh, and he scored in 8th place, so we are dipping at the bottom of the top 10. Next up is Zig with, let's just see, an hybrid version. So he removes 2 hydrogens horizontally, the other 2 hydrogens horizontally, and then he leaves his carbon C just single bonded. Then he bonds the other one and simultaneously removes an hydrogen couple and the other hydrogen couple, and then it runs around rebonding everything. This hybrid approach, this is pretty nice, nets him the 7th place at 32 symbols. Now we have Darius 1, and this pretty spaghetti implements an horizontal version of the standard algorithm. So he does it by rotating here, removing the 2 sets of hydrogens here, and then coming down, doing the usual double unbond for the double bonded C, then coming around to put the C out of the way, making the other C, coming back, doing the usual inline double bond and outputting. Counterpoint for 5th place does it similarly to how Toffot did it, by removing the 2 hydrogen sets vertically without any rotation, then has the usual flip-flop redoing to move the carbon C out of the way, and here he picks it back up, rotates, does the usual double back bonding, and outputs. It is nice to see that he can avoid a branch over here, because the third C is dropped out of the output zone, and then the completed product is instead inside where we are. Nice job! We have now Sir in fourth place with a very compact implementation of the standard double C algorithm. Rotates twice, makes one C, let's see it in detail, moves it out of the way, and then go get the other one, removes the hydrogen, puts it half in the bonds. He has a pretty unconventional bonding because he has bonded twice here, and then he comes back all around and bonds another couple of times, and then he is done. Having these very few flip-flops and reusing whole branches full of symbols grants him the fourth place at 30 symbols. GG goal in with third place. This solution starts like many other solutions. He builds his first C by doing the vertical movement instead of rotating. He runs around a bit, repicks it up, moves it out of the way. Now that he has his second C, he drops it out here, and now cool stuff happens. One rotation. We have this double back bond had by correct bonder priority. Now this symbol is reused once and twice to move the product in the right position, and then dropped and outputted. This is a really nice symbol line that grants him the first place. Second place for reasons with what was defined the cleanest way to make the standard approach work. So he does the regular thing where he unbonds the hydrogens. He unbonds them vertically like we have seen most top solutions do. Then he does a bit of bonder priority magic to bond and unbond and form the C in the right spot. He has a very tight third C storage here with very tight spaces. And now that he has formed his second C, brings it down, does the usual double back bonding, and outputs. Very compact solution, and it's also pretty fast for its 28 symbols. And finally, in first place, this really masterpiece by Andy. Congratulations, Andy. So let's see. He left some notes on this solution on the Steam forum that I invite you to check out if you want to know more about how this came to be. So, unlike most of the other top solution, he doesn't build the carbon C, but we have done basically nothing now, and now he brings down his second molecule and magic happens. What happens here is that we form our standard carbon ring, and now we remove the hydrogens a couple at a time by continually looping around this very complex 4 flip-flop loop chain. Here we have removed the second one. Here we grab and remove the third one using this square of bonders in both north-south and east-ovest directions. And now that we have removed all of them, we keep looping around and using these two bond plus command to bond all the places in the carbon ring. I mean, look at it. Sometimes the unbound command captures one couple of carbons, but this is simply fixed the next time the algorithm runs. And again, and again. Here we are, another couple is fixed. Here, only these 3 bonds remain. This bond fixes them. we get this bond unmade by the bond minus. So we run another time. This bond is fixed and we're done. I'll be honest here, I'm not exactly 100% sure of how this works. I can only make my sincerest compliments to Andy for another great solution. And well, we can watch it run for a while. At least another couple outputs. Here we go, magic starts. Everything is unbonded and then everything is rebonded. Congratulations again, Andy. And this solution is a fair bit slower than the other ones. That's because of all these loops and flip-flops and clocks at slightly over 3000. As the last solution, I wanted to show this that was submitted by Jix and won the Employee of the Month award from the assignment with just 2 bonders. And he does by removing hydrogens one by one and having red bond them together, forming the C and then bonding up the C in the standard way. Here we go, after a while he outputs. I hope you enjoyed this video and we'll see you next week with the results from week 3.